Welcome to the Landscaping Podcast. My name is Joel Barnett and I'm your host. And today's episode is a Q&A episode. Haven't done one for probably a couple of months at least. And we did used to do them back in the day weekly, or last year we did them weekly. And then it got to the point where I was only getting about 4 or 5 questions. So stopped doing them. And then I'll put out the question poll this week and we've got 29 questions, which is quite overwhelming. So none during the peak of the Q&As last year got anywhere near that. So I'm going to split this up into 2 episodes. So there'll be 15 or so today, and then the rest will be in an episode next week. But the first question is from Jamie Woolley saying, if starting a business with a ute and trailer, good start. If starting a business with a ute and trailer, is a 4x4 necessary, or can you get away with a two-wheel drive? So I've been landscaping for, it's maybe coming up to 21 years, and I've never driven a 4x4. So I certainly have been bogged a few times. So maybe it would have been handy to have one every now and then, but you certainly don't need to have a 4x4. And it might come down to, a nice to have, like it'd be handy and you can maybe do more things with it, but certainly not a necessity that when you're starting your business. So when you're starting your business, there's more important things to be buying rather than upgrading a vehicle to a 4x4 as opposed to a two-wheel drive. So certainly don't think that one's necessary. Chloe from Foster Your Garden has said, what the landscaping podcast interviews have had the most impact on you? In terms of one of the episodes, which if people ask me a good one to listen to if they're coming on as a guest, I think the episode with Emmeline Bowman from STEM is one of the best episodes in terms of the way that she answered the questions. So she was like, I'd ask a question and she would answer the question talking to me, but she was also talking to the audience at the same time. And I'd never heard anyone talk like that before in the interviews. So it's one of those things you don't know how good something is until you hear it. So, and then I've heard other people do it in bits and pieces as well, especially educators, people who are teachers. They seem to do that kind of thing as well. Like they talk and educate at the same time. So I was very impressed with the way she did that. I remember it was quite early on, would have been in the first 20 episodes, I reckon. I did an episode with Matt Heiner, who's the artist over in Colorado, and I remember coming out of that, like leaving the studio, and just telling my wife how good of an episode that was. Like, it just felt awesome talking to him because I just love his brain and how business oriented he is. So that was one of my favorites early on, as well as Dean Herold. I'd never spoken to him before, but he just seemed like and like I'd been a fan of his work for a long time, and he's pretty well known and quite popular. So you don't know what people are going to be like, but he was awesome to talk to. And also in that regard, getting blown away by the size of the business because some people I talk to and you don't know how big their business is. So, um, Instagram they might look massive, but they've got a small business. But when I had Tim Davies from Tim Davies Landscaping on in WA, that was phenomenal how massive they were. I think he had like 100 staff or something. So I had no idea they were that big. And then nearly every person I've had on from WA worked for him at some stage as well. So it's one of those exciting things when you talk to people from different states. Like everyone in WA would know who he is, but not a lot of people in the eastern states do. Or not as many. But then, yeah, once you find out about him, you know, some sort of superstar in the industry. And again, awesome to talk to. So, and that's what I love about the podcast. So many great people, and Chloe's included in that. So, I had seen her name around a lot before I spoke to her, but had never actually spoken to her. I knew nothing about her. But yeah, just someone to get along with really well. And then if I see her in person, I would stop and have a chat. And yeah, just a great person. So yeah, there's some of the episodes that have had an impact on me. James Zala said, what has been the biggest challenge in putting the landscaping course together? I don't know what I would have answered 6 months ago with this question, but now the biggest challenge has definitely been time to do it. Not just because it's the Christmas period and we're a couple of weeks away from the end of the year, but yeah, just the more work I do on site, the more money I make. So it's been too difficult to pull myself away from that to work on the course. But that's what I'll be doing over the Christmas holidays to finish that up. And a lot of it I've been building it at the back of my shed, and our shed lease runs up at the end of Feb. So I 100% have to finish that part of the course before we get out. Probably sooner because I actually have to also take it apart, I assume. So yeah, just purely time. At the very start, I started filming everything. I can't remember what I did first, but whatever it was, I started the camera at the start of the day and just filmed myself the entire day and then spoke every now and then. So then when I had to edit it, I had to listen to the entire thing again and work out where I spoke and edit that. So it took an insane amount of time to edit the first day. So then I realized what should do is when I am going to do something, I'll start recording, do it, and then stop recording. So makes it a billion times easier. So there's certainly been a lot I've learned along the way to make it easier. Glennis Buck Designs has said, "What are your thoughts on minimum charge out fees? It's more in regards to garden maintenance." It's a tricky one to uh, to communicate with clients because, but you definitely should be doing it because, and when you've got no work, it's hardest to do. But if you've got a lot of work and you don't have to take on everything, it's a lot easier, and that's when you should definitely be doing it. But if like it's the same when do it, even when you're quoting a small landscape project. If if you've got a deck and you were doing let's say it was a 5 square meter deck, so it's tiny. If you worked out the square meterage price on it, it's going to be extremely expensive. But there's a lot of times I'll tell clients that if you were to double the size of this, the price wouldn't be double; it'd be less than double because there's certain things um, that you're already doing, so it doesn't make it it's not the same to double the size as is to double the price. And that's why you also need to have a minimum charge out rate for doing maintenance because if you're trimming a 70-meter hedge, then you're going to be doing that. It's going to take you a fair while, but you're going to get a lot done. But if you're driving out there once and driving home once, whereas if you're going to trim a 7-meter hedge, you still got to drive there and drive home. So that is exactly the same as one 10 times bigger, but yeah, and you're not going to be getting as paid as much while you're there. So should definitely have minimum charge out rates, and that's a lot of like Bobcat drivers do that. They'll have a half day rate as the minimum. So if they're there for 2 hours, they'll charge for 4 for that same reason because they've got to go out there and then there and there's not a lot of times where if you're booking in a 2 hour job that you're going to have another job that you can say make wait for the rest of the half of the day because that 2 hour job could turn into 4 or 6 and then you've got the other one that's already booked in. So it just makes it more tricky. So yeah, I would definitely have a minimum charge out rate. Someone in the maintenance industry would be better to talk to about how to work that out and what it should be, or you can work that out yourself if you can work out how much you think you should charge, and it could be like a half day rate as well, depending on how many jobs you can do in a day. Like if it's maintenance, you might be able to do more jobs in a day, so it could be a quarter of a day. But yeah, there's no point losing money just to keep a customer as well. Mosqueda 5857 said, "Industry award galas, are they worth it? Are they a true representation of the industry, and do you submit yours?" I reckon if you spoke to people who have won like the big awards or smaller companies who have won awards, they would say that they're worth it. But it's like anything; it's only worth as much as the effort you put in. So if you win something, not many people are going to know about it unless you tell them. So then you can put the award on your email signature or on your website. You can do some paid ads to sort of promote that you won it, because the industry will promote who won, or will say who won the awards. But quite often, there's a lot of people that won the awards on the same night, so you kind of get a bit washed up in the wave of the winners. So you want to do your own advertising, and it's the same as like garden shows. Like if you do a garden show, and then you just do it and then don't advertise afterwards, then you're not going to get much out of it. So you want to keep milking it as much as you can, as Rob Waddell said in his episode. What were the other questions? Are they worth it? Are they true representation of the industry? I think they are. It doesn't because there's a big range of the different sizes of the, particularly with like landscaping awards. There's uh, projects over 250,000, and there's ones under 70,000. So there's projects like that in the industry. So that's a representation. It's not like there's ones under 10,000 because not many people are going to be too impressed with something under 10,000. So those projects get done, but maybe they're not as much worth celebrating. I've only submitted one garden, or one, it was a feature in the landscape into an award, and that would have been maybe 12 years ago, maybe 10 to 12 years ago. And it got slammed pretty hard by the judges, so I haven't submitted one again. And it was rightfully slammed, like it wasn't done well at all. But at the time, 3 years into the business, I thought it was pretty good. But in hindsight, it wasn't. So I think I got a 51 out of 100. And there's been other projects I've thought about entering into it, but because I'm only early in the design side of things like that I'm doing, I don't really want to enter a project that someone else has designed, because most of it really comes back to the design. So even though I've judged a lot of years and done landscape construction, so there is that category. But there's just I'm usually too busy and haven't got the time to or desire, because the whether you've won an award or not doesn't mean you're any good. Like, you could just know how they work and tick the boxes and hire people who are copywriters to help with that. So, like, there's some of the best landscapers in the world may not have won awards because if they don't enter them, then you don't win anything. So, um, I think they're overrated, but also they're important as well because it's good to have the people all get together, celebrate the projects. It's awesome as a judge because you get to see these projects up close and see the quality of some of the people in the industry. But yeah, there would have been people who have won awards for projects that weren't as good as other projects done that same year that didn't get entered. So they certainly have a place, and I think they're great to have. And I'll probably enter some in at some stage down the track. Ricky Fort from Geelong Real Estate Co. I'm 99% sure that he has made a spelling mistake in this question, and he may have misplaced a P instead of an L, but he has said, "Who's got the best pawn on Autumn Street?" So Ricky's got some of the best lawn that I've seen. So I assume he means lawn, but I can't make assumptions without talking to him. So I'll have to assume that he's saying pawn, and I do not know who's got the best pawn on Autumn Street. So I'll just have to move on to the next question from Steed Nyland. What's something you've tried putting into a design multiple times but hasn't made the cut? It's a funny question because we're doing projects at the moment. I think there's three. We finished one, just about to finish another one, and there was my place as well, where there were certain elements that I wanted to have in the design. So it was about 2 years ago I designed these, I reckon, and I did similar things in all three, and we got all three, and we're now doing them all at the same time. So a lot of the stuff that I design gets done because if it's something that I'm really excited about and the client wants to save money, I'll save money elsewhere so I can keep in that awesome thing that I want to do. So doing the floating steps with the circle and a tree in it, I wanted to do that. So I did that at my house and also on a project that we've done. They're just about to finish. And also there's two jobs where we had a raised circle with fake lawn in it. in the front yard. So there's two projects as well that have got the exact same thing. Not exact same thing. I changed the what the raised part was made out of. One of them was cladding timber battens. The other one's going to be steel, but pretty similar kind of items there. Um, I don't know what the next thing is that I'll try and be putting in designs. I've got a couple of designs on the board at the moment, but um, the budgets kind of determine how how creative you can get, and sometimes they make it a little bit hard to get creative. So, but yeah, most things, if I want to do it, I'll do it, and whether that's losing money on it as well, because it looks awesome, which I don't recommend, but yeah, that's what I do. Cass from Outback Gardens has gone berserk and given 6 questions, so I'm going to split it up and we'll do 3 tonight and 3 next week. Her first one: what materials should you avoid when landscaping? So it's funny. I worked for a client who wanted to put like the 7 mil. What are they called? The little pebbles, pea gravel. She wanted to put pea gravel in the yard, and I just hated it. I don't know why it was I hated it, but must have had a bad experience with it back in the day. So I said, "No, pea gravel is the worst. Never using it again." No, I'm not using. I don't know if we use it on her project or not. She might have twisted my arm, but great client she was. Um, so I would have been saying pea gravel, but now I've seen some beautiful gardens where it's like a gravel mulch. So and you plant sparingly in it, so you see them popping up out of there, and I think it looks awesome. So I've changed my mind on that. Certainly, I avoid weed mat. We don't use that at all. Because there's been a lot of times where we went to a job, it's got weed mat, and we had to pull weeds out of it, and the weeds grow through it. So it certainly doesn't. It doesn't work. Bad for the soil. So yeah, it's a nasty one. Um, but I reckon they're probably the main ones. I also don't use recycled concrete, so a lot of people will use that as a base under paving or concrete. So when you take concrete, it gets crushed up and recycled up along with bricks as well, and then gets sold back to people. But I don't trust that nobody's has got asbestos in their concrete that they're taking in to get rid of. So I'd rather not have that dust flying around when we're working with the crushed rock. So yeah, so we use crushed rock instead of recycled concrete just for that reason. Yeah, and it's not that much cheaper either. Might be 10 or 12 bucks a cubic meter less, so it's not that much. And also I found it doesn't compact. It doesn't lock in together as well as what crushed rock does or road base. Cass's second question was any gardening or landscaping trends coming through that you're noticing? I think I've said this a couple of times that I'm horrendous at being at the forefront of trends. Like I will wait till they've been in for 3 years and then I might think, oh, I might try this thing. This looks pretty good. Like I'm doing that with perennials. I'm using a fair bit of them now, and yeah, they've been around. Well, obviously been around for forever, but quite popular in the last 3 or 4 years. So now I'm starting to think, oh yeah, no, they do look good. Because initially when they came in, I thought, wow, people who know what plants to choose and have all those different colors and everything everywhere, like blowing me away how they can work that out. But then you just gradually start to learn, you know, Agastache Sweet Lily. That's one plant. Now I know what size it gets out, how you look after it, so you know how to use it. And then there's two other grasses you can put in. So it can be a bit overwhelming at the start, but then you just start to learn individual plants, add them to your memory bank, and then next thing you know, you're doing a garden show with heaps of perennials in there. So I've jumped on that bandwagon. Also I'm loving doing concrete at the moment, like the architectural concrete. So we've done a few jobs with steps, just did a barbecue. We've got another barbecue coming up next year, and yeah, and I'll try and put that in my own design as well. Just love working with it. Just yeah, I don't know what it is about it, but yeah, I'll start to be pushing the boundaries a bit on that too. But again, that's been popular for 10 years, and then it's taken me that long to start thinking, oh yeah, I might start doing this. So yeah, if you're looking to see trends that are coming through, I am not the person to be following. And Cass's third question, are you doing Mifkus again? That was a timely question because the day that she asked that, I'd had a meeting with Susanna Kennett Lister and Andrew Laidlaw again, who are doing the Indigenous Garden at Memphis. So I'll be doing that. But yeah, again, it's just a couple of days, so I can dip my toes in, help say hello to everyone there, and I'll be doing the preview podcast again, which I did last year, and that was quite a popular episode. So that's going around talking to the designers before the show actually opens and releasing that episode before the show opens. So then you can listen to that and get a bit of an understanding about what you're going to be going in and seeing in the next week. And also we'll have an announcement about another garden show soon. Could be next year. Nothing that I'll be doing too major though. Billy Blake's got a question saying, "Is there any advice or knowledge you wish you received before you started the?" And then the question stopped. So I don't know what he was going to say. I should have asked him directly, but let's presume that that wasn't supposed to be there. And he wanted to know if there's any advice or knowledge I wish I received before I started. Let's say landscaping. And I had a conversation like this with Andrew Christopher Dunn about he was saying how amazing it is now. There's all this information. So someone starting out can sort of listen to people who've got a lot of experience, and um, so it's going to be a lot easier for them to start out. But I said to him, I don't think I would listen if I heard people telling me how to do things. I still don't do it now. Um, so it just comes down to your personality. Because I'll hear someone say, this works, doing XYZ will work for your business. I would think, oh, well, our businesses aren't quite exactly the same. So, and I can't see that that works. I think this would work, so I'll try this instead. And then 2 years later, I think, I should have listened. That guy was right. Oh, there's so many examples like that where I haven't listened, but there's also times where I didn't listen and I was right. So yeah, that's one I think about often, wondering should I be. It's the same with getting a business coach. Despite why I don't have one because I'm a bit. I don't know if it's a personality about not taking on advice. Like I remember when I first spoke to my accountant before starting the business, so this was 15 years ago, she was telling me I should start a YouTube channel and start sort of showing some of the work I was doing on YouTube. So if I had have started doing that 15 years ago, back before it was as busy as what it is now, well, that would have been a good idea. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of advice you receive along the way. And I remember a cricket commentator saying that, I can't remember which one it was, but he was saying that when he was given advice, he'd listen to all of it, but then work out how much of it he wants to take on board. So you don't want to just ignore someone when they're trying to give you advice. You listen to it, but if you don't think it's suitable for you, then you don't have to take it on. And I don't think enough is suitable for me. I think, yeah, too much of what I hear, I don't think will work for me. So, and that's just out of ignorance, I'd say. Yeah, because the more you're in business, the more you think you know. So yeah, no particular advice that I wish I received because I probably received it anyway and just didn't act on it. But I think I've mentioned this before. The best advice is about having separate business accounts for your PAYG and your BAS and all the different expenses you've got throughout the year, to be putting little bits in there as you go, so that when those bills come, it's not a big surprise. You've already got the money there ready to pay. I remember when I first started out there, at the end of like every 3 months, I think, I'm starting to get a bit of money in the bank. This is looking good. But that's because my BAS was quarterly. So every 3 months, I'd have to pay. And it would just completely wipe the bank account out. So it took me a while to work out what was happening there. But yeah, having separate bank accounts is awesome for that. And you can put, I've got 2 employees who are owed long service leave now as well. So I certainly wasn't putting that aside. I think one's got 10 grand I got to pay, yeah, at the moment. And then the other one might be 7 or 8. So that, like, I don't have that money. So it's just got to, any profit that I'm making now, I'm going to start putting that aside so that when they leave, that'll be there for them. So yeah, that'd be some advice. And I did take some of that advice on. Like I did have PAYG accounts, but not enough accounts for all the different things you've got to put money aside for. Aaron Holman, Landscape Design, said, "How are you?" I'm good, thanks, Aaron. Aaron is a good account to follow. See how much crazy walking he does. He walks a long distance, and he's in Melbourne, and I think he was considering walking to Geelong for I don't know if it's just for something to do or is it for raising money or something, but he's a good fella. Cam from Abcam Horticulture said, "Do you stop and reflect on your accomplishments?" Every now and then I do in sort of micro moments, but I am very much a continuous improvement type of person, and no matter what I do, I want to be better at it. So, and it's good for my guys where every time we do a job, there's always a way to do things better. So it's not bad enough that you need to pull something out. But I remember when we did some irrigation and we'd only allowed like 4 stations or something, and one of them included the veggie garden. So we did that and then said what we should do in the future is have an individual station for the veggie garden because you might not be using it or you want to water it more often for shorter periods of time than the general garden bed. So yeah, there's just things that you can do that can be done better, but you're not gonna, yeah, you're always learning. So you can't just change everything when you realize that you could have done it better. Um, but yeah, I don't stop and reflect on accomplishments and like I don't know. You also need to define what an accomplishment is, either just finishing a job or winning an award or um yeah, and also as I've mentioned a few times, I don't like compliments or insults. Like I don't they don't mean anything either way. So it's the same about stopping and thinking of how good we've done. I look at projects and think, oh, I love them and they're amazing. So I don't know if that is reflecting on it, but like I wish I could see, like I wish I could walk in the garden show build that we did again. So I just loved being there. Um, so yeah, so not really. I don't think I do. It's good for some people to do, but not everyone has to. As long as you're happy, and I am. Ben from Yards Landscapes said, "Tool theft. We just had ours stolen overnight. What's the best way to track your tools?" I don't know whether it depends what tools you've got. Like, they could be worth getting those Apple AirTags potentially and putting them on some of the big ticket items, but I don't know how. I've never had one, so I don't know how big or small they are and how easy they are to attach to something and what the sort of maintenance is on them. Um, but yeah, haven't had a lot stolen. I've had a whacker stolen from a job site, um, and also had some tools stolen from a tool trailer while I was working in the front yard of a job. So they just opened up the roadside, like they drove along, opened up the roadside, grabbed what they wanted, then kept driving. And I didn't see it until I went out to the trailer. Like I could have seen it, I was in eyesight of it, but I just didn't notice it. That'll come as no surprise to my wife that I didn't notice something, but I was obviously busy working hard, and they took like a circular saw, nail gun, a couple of other things. And I think maybe a drill box as well. And the annoying thing about that was all the drill bits that you got to buy to replace, because I have a million of them floating around in there. But since then, I'm very fastidious about locking the trailer all the time. And anytime an employee leaves it unlocked, I remind them that if something gets stolen and they've left it unlocked, they'll pay for whatever has to get replaced, because that's why I lock it. Because if it gets stolen, I have to pay to get it replaced. So you just got to transfer the importance of how important it is to keep things locked. And that's obviously hasn't stopped people in the past. Like I know people who hooked up trailers and driven off. I don't know them, but I've heard of it happening. So yeah, it happens to everyone just about. So tracking them like Ben's looking to do is probably a good idea, but I'm not sure of what the best way to do is. But it is important to make sure that you've got insurance that covers it, and also to take photos or know the serial numbers of the tools or the types so that you know what you've got. Like, you can't just say, the tool's been stolen. I had a Makita drill set. Like, which one? There's different qualities. So you want to have, and, and again, I don't do any of this. I should do it, but it's more advice that I've received and then haven't acted on. Probably just out of laziness. I can't bother recording it all because things change. But that's a smart thing to do, is to have a list of everything you've got and photos as well. So that if it gets stolen, you'll get it replaced and you've got good records of it to do so. And last question is from Fig Landscapes saying, what are your tips for surviving the Christmas rush that seems to happen every year? Well, unfortunately or fortunately, for about 5 years, I did not survive it. I was just working like an animal. I'd finish Christmas Eve about 1 o'clock and then go and do some Christmas shopping on the way home. And next thing you know, is Christmas Day, Boxing Day, New Year's Eve, and you're back at work, and it feels like you haven't stopped at all because the Christmas period can be a bit busy. And I hated that it was so busy and quick. So then I decided to have a week off before Christmas. So rather than saying we finish on Christmas Eve or close to it, I decided that we'd finish a week before. And the week between, like, it's a bit different this year because we'll finish on the 20th, and then so it's only really Monday and Tuesday. It's only a couple of days when you include the weekend. But when, like, there's a year we finished on the 18th, and that week between then and Christmas seems to take such a long time. So then you actually are resting in that period, and then you've got the catching up with everyone in that busy period. So what my tip is to finish earlier. And you can start, it doesn't matter when you start back, you can start back early if you want, but finishing earlier makes a massive difference. And you actually get to relax, and you can do Christmas shopping as well. Because if you're a male like me, then you leave it until the last minute. But actually pretty good this year. I'm actually turning around. So I've got quite a bit purchased in November even. So how about that? But yeah, another thing I do with Christmas Rush is I tell clients that we don't work to deadlines. There was a job I thought we were going to do this year before Christmas. And I said, I think we'll get it done. And they said, no worries, we're going to sign the contract, but we want an assurance that it'll be done before Christmas. I said, if you want that assurance, you can go and get someone else to do it for you, because I'm not going to guarantee that that's going to happen, because there are so many things that can change when I can get things done. Like, there's weather, there's employees getting sick, injured. I could get sick or injured. Material supplies, like there's nothing that makes things get done quicker. Then there's so many things that make them get done slower. So I don't work to deadlines. 99% of the time I don't. Um, and that's what makes me a lot happier. And it's not like you book it in and then tell the client, oh, well, I know we said we were going to do it, but we're not. So you communicate with the client right before they start, or right before they sign on, that we'll try and get it done by then, but there's no guarantees. And these clients said, yeah, that's fine. They signed on. And then when I told them that we won't be able to get it done before Christmas, they said that they're very disappointed. So, well, what can you do? You can't please everyone. The most important person you're going to please is yourself. So, as long as you do that, and then family second, then that's the most important part. So, that was half the questions. So, the other half will be in an episode next week, probably on Wednesday or Thursday, I guess. But thank you very much to everyone who sent one in, and see you next week.